Y'all, today is one of the most exciting days. I'm going to show you how today we're going to plant my 4,000 square foot in-ground garden. So make sure that you tune in. I'm so glad you're here if you're new, and if you're returning back, I'm so glad that you are here as well. But y'all, this is one of my favorite days of the year because we're planting our summer garden in our biggest space to date. So if you're new, let me just explain to you what spaces we have from a gardening perspective. We have three main spaces that we plant in. Number one is our high tunnel, which is a 30 by 96. In that tunnel, we have five rows that are 45 feet long, and then we have 6 raised beds and 2 circular raised beds. So we plant in there all year round, 24/7. We are growing food every day of the week in that space. Our second space, which we're planting today, is our 4,000 square foot in-ground garden. It is one of my most favorite places. We only garden there in the summer. So that's what you're going to see today, how we pull it off each and every year. And then the third space is the space that's actually behind me, which is where my garden started 5 years ago. In April 2020, I literally knelt down in front of these beds and asked the Lord to help me understand and help me to learn how to garden. And he has done that more and more abundantly. But I have 5 raised beds behind me. This has our garlic and our onions. So we plant in here in these spaces in the spring and in the fall. So in the fall, we plant our garlic. In the spring, we do our onions. And then we also, once these crops come out at the beginning of June, we will plant some summer crops in here as well, like sweet potatoes, peppers, and some extra tomatoes. So those are the 3 spaces. But today is our biggest space, the 4,000 square foot in-ground garden. And y'all, I'm hyped. So I'm going to try to walk you through this day and what it looks like to be able to plant this space. It takes a lot of organization. It takes a lot of planning and detail. But you know what? It didn't just start today. We have been planning for this since the end of January when we started our 12-week seed starting challenge. If you missed it, every single week I went live and I showed you the seeds that I was starting each and every week in my zone, which is zone 7B. And I showed you how I planned and crafted what I was going to plant each and every week and why I was planting that crop that week. We talked about how some crops need to be planted at certain times so that you don't plant them too early or plant them too late. So in that process, I started over 1,100 plants. And today is the day that we get a chance to use the work of our hands and put them outside in the garden that's going to grow food for our family as well as other families over the next 4 to 5 months. We're literally growing our own groceries. So let me explain to you kind of what's going to happen, because it's going to be very chaotic. And I probably will have to do many voiceovers because it's going to be a crazy day today, but crazy in a good way. So we have what we call an annual planting party where we plant the outside garden. Now, it started out when I had 2 friends that said, you know what, we're going to come help you plant your garden. These 2 friends were and are not gardeners. They're just friends that wanted to come hang out with me and help me plant my garden. And we did it the first year and we had a great time. I thought, man, that was so nice of them. That was great. And I thought that was once and done. The next year they said, oh no, this is a tradition. We're coming back. And so when they came back the next year, they brought a couple of more friends, right? And so this is, I want to say, the third annual planting party, if I'm not mistaken. It might be the 4th. It might be the 4th. And so now I have the biggest group yet that's supposed to be here today in less than a couple of hours. So me and my husband are busily working around trying to get ready to receive them and to get them. Now, everybody who's coming today is not a gardener. These are just friends that decided to come help me plant, or they want to learn and they wanted to be in on the action. So it's important that I have things as organized as possible so that it can run efficiently as possible. So I've talked about in previous videos, I have a crop plan. So I have already laid out what's going to go where in what row. Now, one of the first things that we're going to have to do is to get all of these plants from my house down to the garden. So that's one of the first tasks that we have to do. So I'm going to take you along the journey and show you as many parts as I can as we get ready for our biggest planting day yet. So one of the first things we have to do is to get all the plants that's in my house down to the garden where we're going to be planting. So I start in the back.
If you remember, I have two different spaces where I was keeping my plants. I had plants inside my house, then I also had plants inside my sunroom. And so many of the plants were in the sunroom. We would hang out or bring them outside on the back porch where you see this table, and they would be hanging out here. But we had so much rain over the last week that we took a lot of them in because they were just getting drenched and soaked. So I'm going to get all of the plants that's inside the sunroom and go ahead and start stacking them on the table. And then my husband will come around with his truck and load them all up. So I'll be glad, so glad to get these plants out of my house and not have to try and water them day in and day out. My whole sunroom, if you could see it right now, the floor is covered with plants because they got so tall they wouldn't even fit on the shelf under the grow lights without getting burned from the light. So they're all down on the floor, and I'm just going to take my time, bring them out, load them up on the table, so that way when he comes, he knows exactly what to get.
So y'all, we're blessed that we have really good weather today. It's supposed to be like 72 to 74, and it was supposed to be cloudy all day, but I've come down to the tunnel now into the outside garden, and the sun is actually out. I prayed for sun just because I think sunshine just makes it easier to work and puts everybody in a good mood instead of it just being overcast and cloudy, and the Lord has done just that. So it is a beautiful day to plant. So you saw me getting some of the trays loaded on the table. My husband will come and get those trays from the back of the house. And then I brought some plants down here in my truck, plus we still have more. So we'll probably have to make a couple of different, well, once my husband gets his truck up there, he can probably put them all in his truck. I just couldn't put them in mine. But also my husband's come down here and like just cut around the outside garden so that it's just easier, you know, to walk around and people are not, you know, dealing with knee-high grass because of all the rain we've had. We have not had a chance to cut the grass. It's been raining for the last 7 days. So what I'm doing now is my husband has found all the trowels for me. So we have those in a bucket. I'm just bringing stuff from the tunnel out to the outside garden where we're going to be. This is where we're going to be pretty much all day today. And I'm bringing the stools and all that good stuff. So we're just getting everything ready. And then also we're doing something new this year. We have a tent that my husband's going to put up. And then that's where people can go and sit down if they need to take a rest break, get a drink of water, all of that. Like it's meant to be, the goal is to get the garden planted, but to have fun at the same time. So it's not like it's, we're doing strict labor over here, but they can go, and then I'm going to have some refreshments and stuff that they can sit up under the tent and eat.
Y'all, let the party begin. Everybody showed up except one person, and everybody eagerly jumped in and just got started. You can see we have people over on the left-hand side. You can see my husband and that gentleman. They're working on the drip. Then I got two ladies over there in the watermelon patch. I have two ladies in the middle that's working on, I think they are doing the non-spicy pepper row. And then you can see I have a gentleman on the ground who is using the drill to dig holes for tomatoes so that we can plant them really deep. I am somewhere in the background running around, getting plants for everybody, making sure that they have what they need, filling up compost, wheelbarrow, the whole 9 yards. But y'all, it turned out to be a beautiful day, and everybody is having a good time as well as we're actually getting stuff done. So I'm so excited. This is one of my favorite days of the year. And you can also see on the right hand side where we finished planting out the rest of the corn. That's the first place where we started, and then we're kind of not necessarily going in order, but I started in order from the right hand side, and then I put people on the left hand side just so that they would have space and not be bumping into each other. But so far so good. We are just now getting started.
Okay guys, doing a quick check-in. We have been at it for 2 hours now, and we are on the last row. It is moving fast. We have 10 people out here today, more than I've ever had before. I feel so blessed, so grateful. And they're moving. I have been hard to get footage just because I've been ripping and running, trying to get people what they needed. You know, if they may need more dirt, they may, more compost, or shovel, or water, or more plants, and just all of the stuff. But it has been really, really good. At the same time, my husband and one of the other guys have been working on the drip irrigation. So they have that going down. I think they have 2 more lines left. We have 1 line that's not working. We don't know why at all. We're getting pressure to all the other lines except that 1 line. So they're trying to figure that out. And then everybody's in the middle of a row, but we just started the last row. I have them working in pairs, 2 on each row, since I have the people to do that. In times past, I've only had like 3 or 4 people helping, so it didn't really, work out that way. But with 2 people on each row, one person is digging the holes up all the way down. The other person is putting it in there and covering it up, and they're switching off. Somebody else may be making labels on that row, or they're coming to get more plants. So, So it's working out really well having 2 people on the row. And some of these people don't know each other. They're all friends of mine, but they don't all know each other. So it's been good for them to be with somebody else on their row that they can connect with, laugh and talk, and everybody's having just a really, really good time. It is so nice. Like I said, we feel so blessed and so grateful to have people that just want to come out and help us. It's not people we didn't ask. People just volunteered to come out and help, and that is the power of great friendships and great community. So I'm gonna get back. This bee is determined to aggravate me today, but he is not gonna aggravate me. I'm gonna go back out here. I'm continuing to supervise. I think I've only planted like 3 or 4 things, and that was before anybody got here. I haven't even planted anything with these hands myself, but that's okay. That's okay. I do not want to take the work away from them. They're enjoying it, having a good time. And one person said, it just warmed my heart. She said, I have been looking forward to this since last year. And that just warms my heart, especially from somebody who doesn't garden. So what a blessing. What a blessing. So I'm going to get back over here. I'll try to get some more footage, and I'll tune back in later.
We got the tent up. We finally took a break, got some refreshments and food. Everybody's sitting around having a good time. And then we get right back to it. Here's some shots. So after the refreshment break, they got back to it. So I had this pair that was working together come into the greenhouse to plant the last row in the tunnel because now all the ants are gone. And then outside, the guys were still working on the drip. We had a couple of people still hanging out, just taking them a break. But then look at Lexi, y'all. Lexi is all stretched out like, man, I have really put in a day's work. She's just basically, I guess, having herself a good old time. But everybody is back at it, and we're finishing up the last row before it's time to call it a day.
Hey y'all, it's the next day. I could not even try to end the video after everything that happened on yesterday. It was an absolutely beautiful day, but to say I was tired was an understatement. But y'all, we made record time. So if I didn't say before, we had 10 people that showed up, which is the most that we've ever had. We usually have 4 to 5, so 10 definitely made a difference. We started around between 12 and 12:30, and really they were done at 4:30. The last car pulled out at like 5:20, and they were just helping me like straighten up, and we were just talking. But by 4:30, in 4 hours, y'all, they planted the entire and really I planted, I want to say 3 or 4 things, and that was before they got here. I was just playing around. And that was it. Other than that, I didn't put my hands in dirt and plant a thing. They did the entire thing. When I say such a blessing, such a blessing. There is no way, I shouldn't say that. There is a way that my husband and I could have done it by ourselves, but it would not have been done in 4 hours. It probably would not have been done in one day. I can tell you that right now. So I'm very grateful, very, very blessed that it got done. And I feel a sense of accomplishment and less overwhelmed, except y'all, I still got a lot of plants left. I need to go back to my video from last year to see if I had this many plants left. I don't think I did. Y'all, let me just show you how many plants, how many trays I have left. And then I'm going to take you to see the garden.
Okay, so these are the plants that were in my house that never even made it out to the tunnel. So I have about 3 trays there, all assorted zinnias, tomatoes, more tomatoes. This is the other side, more marigolds, more tomatoes. So that's about 6 trays partially full that never even made it out to the garden. So now in the tunnel we have about 2.5 trays right there. The tall ones in the middle are all tomatoes, and those are 3-inch pots. I think there's 15 in a tray, and so there's at least 15 tomato plants right there. The ones in front of it is also tomatoes. They're in the little 2.5-inch bootstrap farmer trays, and then the one right there on the end are 1, 2, 3, 4 packs of zinnias that have 6 in them each. Then when I move around over here on the ground, I have 1, 2, probably a total of 3 trays total. Like that's a full tray, that's not a full tray, those are not full, still have plants in them. That's more zinnias, more tomatoes. I got half a tray of sunflowers, and then on the table I have probably about 15 plants there as well. So you've seen what I have at the house, about 6 or 7 trays, the trays out here, and when I take out to the garden, I'm gonna show you what trays I have left out there. Also, the crew got our last row planted out here in the tunnel. The last one that we didn't plant because of the ants. So y'all, the ants are completely gone, completely. So what we did worked. If you did not see what we did, definitely go check the videos before this one. I think the 2 videos, I might have talked about it on 3 videos, but definitely 2 videos, you will be able to see what we use to get rid of the ants. So now I know I have a protocol, and y'all went and bought me some extra cinnamon, some little bottles of cinnamon that I'm going to bring down here to the tunnel, and I'm just going to have it down in the tunnel. So when I see some ants, then I'll just, sprinkle some cinnamon around on the ground, and I may just do that as a best practice. And that orange oil, 100, get it, 100. It's linked in my Amazon shop under gardening. The orange oil, if you want something like that for if you have ants. But the whole tunnel is planted. Now, I have some leftover stuff, obviously, that I really just want it to be gone. I need to update my website on what we have available to sell. And then I will probably discount the ones that don't look as good. Like, they'll still grow and all that, but some of them, they've just been in their containers too long, and so they're starting to turn yellow. And of course I wasn't fertilizing here at the end, but wherever I have some open spaces, then I can use some of those to kind of pop in here. But I have way more plants left over than I have space. Now, if I had my beds open for my onions and garlic, I could plant some stuff out there, but that stuff is not going to be ready for another month. And trying to keep this stuff alive for a month, probably not going to happen. But let me take you out to the garden so that you can see everything. Obviously it's small, but I want to let you see how everything is planted, and I'll go by and let you know what's on each row. This was also a nice surprise. My friends paused in the middle of garden and brought me some balloons, and everybody sang happy birthday to me because my birthday is a couple days after the big planting day. By the time you see this video, I would have already had my birthday, but that was so nice. There was more of them there, but they've already popped, so that was very nice. And then let me show you what plants we have left over here on the table. So there's a couple of trays there, so those 2 there, and then we have some stragglers right there, another 6-pack right there, more tomatoes, a couple of sunflowers, a couple of trays of squash, and then just a few loners over here. And y'all, I know it's hard to see everything, but I'm just gonna pan. Everything is in the ground, every row is planted. We even have our drip back on and working. I don't know if you can hear it, if you can see it,
But let's just start with our rows. So we have 8 rows out here that are 100 feet long each. I said 7, I think, but it's 8. So right here we have our corn. We finished planting out the corn. You didn't see the corn video, and I talked about how I was going to do my corn differently this time and some changes that I made to be more successful with the corn. Go watch that video. I'll pop it right up here. But we have, I think, 53 corn planted. It's something about corn in the ground. I just love the way it looks. Look at that. Look at that. I've never planted that much corn before, so I'm hoping it's okay. And then, y'all, I put 8 okra here. You can't hardly tell, but it's every other hole there. So I have 8 okra because the okra didn't get planted where it was supposed to, so I had to find a space for it. But the row next to it, this row are spicy peppers all the way down, spicy peppers. This row right here, row number 3, are tomatoes. You see that's going to grow up on the trellis. So a whole row of tomatoes. The next row here, row 4, are our non-spicy peppers. So I have those like 2 rows apart. This row here is our squash. More squash got planted than what I wanted, but it was already in the ground, so I just let it be. So I normally plant half of the row with squash and zucchini, but this whole row is squash and zucchini, so that's okay. And then this row here, where another trellis is, it doesn't look like there's anything in the ground. The first part are our purple hull peas. We did pretty much, I would say, about 75% all the way down. I had them to count 30 holes, and so it goes all the way down until we get about here. And then for the first time, I have some cucumbers out here. I think I have like 10 or 12 cucumbers. I've never done cucumbers out here, so that's going to grow on the trellis. And then behind it, I have Amish paste tomatoes there. So all of that will grow on the trellis. So let me turn you around. This is another half trellis that we have in the middle here. And so on this one, I have the sweet pea flowers that we did. So this is sweet pea, not the edible vegetable that you eat. These are the flowers that are supposed to smell so good. So it's my first time doing those. They need a trellis, so since I had them, I put them right here in this little spot with the half trellis. So that's rows. How many rows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are the 6 rows. Now let me show you row 7 and 8. So row 7 is all flowers. So this is something new that I have not done before, and because I had the space. Now that I got all these plants left over, I guess I could have put food in the ground, but I didn't know I was going to have all these plants left over. And these flowers are down now. It's something I want to try. So this is going to be like my pollinator row, but just a row of beauty of flowers. I don't know if I'm going to like it, but we're going to see. And then the final row, row 8, are cantaloupes and watermelons. Now we had some watermelons left over that is actually in row 7 at the very end. We'll see how that works, but let me tell you how we do our watermelons. So on that very last row is where we do our watermelons and our cantaloupe. And we do every other hole because the holes are 18 inches apart, and you want your watermelon to be 3 feet apart, and you want them to have 3 feet on either side to grow because they produce very large vines and they need the space. They grow much better with the space. Ask me how I know, because I've tried doing it another way, and this way has worked the most successfully. So because my holes are 18 inches apart, I had them put the watermelon and cantaloupe every other hole. In the holes in between, we interplanted basil, marigold, or nasturtium. That will help repel pests, and so we'll have that all throughout the row, and that has worked really well. Now I had about 6 or 7 watermelons left over after they did that, which I thought I didn't have enough watermelon, but I ended up having more than what I needed. So on those 6, I had them plant on the next row, which is the flower row, and I'm hoping it's okay because, again, there's a particular reason why I have the watermelons with that amount of space, because that's what works best. Having them with the same spacing between rows as everything else has not worked. So we'll see how the sugar babies do. I know the sugar babies are smaller, but I don't know if the vines are smaller. We'll see how that works. But there's like 6 sugar babies on that, but you never know until you try, right? You never know until you try. So we're going to try and see what happens with that. But y'all, let me kind of just run down kind of how the day went. Essentially, how were we able to plant a 4,000 square foot garden in 4 hours or less? One of the things I must say is that you do have to be extremely organized and detailed. So I did have my sheets laid out. Everybody got a sheet. Now, I won't say that everybody followed the sheet 100%, but that's what comes with when you have other people that's planting your stuff. And that's not a big deal. Like, I can live with that, right? Because they were so focused on planting. So I might have said, hey, put 10, like on the row with squash. It was supposed to be 10 squash, 10 zucchini. Well, they said, hey, Barbara, we're out of squash. And they were like 75% down the road. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Do you have that many squash down there? It's like, yeah, that's what we had. I mean, we had all this squash. So there was more squash planted than what I know, than I wanted. But you know what? God knows what's best. Maybe I need more squash. Maybe I'm going to sell more squash. Maybe I'm going to have a squash shortage. Who knows? So those things I'm not going to complain about. It's not a big deal. But back to how we got it all done. So everybody had a sheet with the crop plan. As much as possible, I tried to have things lined up on the row. Now, that was not 100% perfect, but I tried to have, you know, if you were planting flowers, I already had the flowers there. Now, every year I learned how to be more efficient and I learned how to do things better. And so one of the things that I want to do better next year is making sure that I do have the stuff in the row and probably the exact amount. So that way, if I only want 10 squash and 10 zucchini in the row, that's all you got. So you can't plant 20 squash because I didn't give you 20 squash. But again, that's like majoring in the minors, okay? That, again, I'm always looking for ways to improve and to be more efficient, but that's not going to stop a show, 100%. The labeling worked a lot better this year. So when I walked through just to kind of, you know, inspect how everything went, most things had a label. If it did not have a label, it's because either I directed it to be that way or because I know what it is and I know where, you know, what's behind it or what's in front of it. It's all the same thing. So that worked well, but organization is definitely key. Them working in pairs worked beautifully. So having 2 people on a row, one person could go get the compost and fill up. So we had wheelbarrows with all of the compost and the amendments in there. They were provided buckets. We had gloves for everybody. We had trowels. And so they could get a trowel, a bucket, fill up their bucket with compost from the wheelbarrow, take it back to their row, and they each had a bucket so they didn't have to keep coming back and forth. And then they had the plant. So one person would dig the hole, the other one would plant, and then they would backfill with the compost and the dirt, and it just kind of moved seamlessly. The downtime was them really waiting on me to get more plants. And it's hard when you are doing 1,100 plants to keep all the tomatoes together because, you know, your tomatoes and your vegetables are growing at varying rates. You're transplanting, you're selling. And so in this tray, you may have a couple of tomatoes, a couple of cucumbers, and a couple of okra because things are being moved around for whatever reason. But ideally, if I would have had all of my stuff like together, like this is all the tomatoes, this is all the okra, then that would have moved a lot more seamlessly. But overall, I cannot complain. It was an absolutely great day. And I'm so glad that I got it done before my birthday because this is a big week. So my birthday is this week. I turned 50. It's my 50th birthday, milestone birthday. And then also my husband and I celebrate our 27th wedding anniversary 4 days after that. So it is a big week. By the time you see this video, I think my birthday would already been passed. I don't know about my anniversary, but anyway, I'm trying to batch content as I can so that I can actually take a couple of days and just enjoy my birthday, enjoy my family, enjoy my husband, and all that good stuff. So thank you guys so much for joining in on this journey and watching this video. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. I would love for you to be a part of this community. Remember, gardening is a journey. Y'all, we proved it today. We grew together. Let's grow together. I'll see you next time, friend.